It's 11 a.m. in Washington, where the Supreme Court has denied Alabama's latest attempt to use a congressional map with just one majority black district. Republican state officials were seeking to block a lower court's decision against the map. So joining us now for more analysis of this ruling is CBS News correspondent Skyler Henry. Good to see you, Skyler. Just walk us through the ruling by the court and what the political implications are.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the political implications first. If there were to be a second congressional district that favors a black majority, then in all likelihood there could possibly be a second Democrat in the state of Alabama up on Capitol Hill. That is notable given that there's only one right now, Congresswoman Terry Sewell. She is the only Democrat and the only black representative in Congress right now for the state of Alabama. And many that we spoke with when we were down in Alabama a couple of months ago have said that they feel as if this district were to be developed, then this automatically essentially creates a fast track, if you will, to have another Democrat in terms of having some sort of representation up on Capitol Hill. Now, how we got here, the Supreme Court rejected the state's original congressional map several months ago, ultimately calling it unconstitutional and saying that it violated the Voting Rights Act. Then what happened is a series of legal procedures where the state of Alabama and lawmakers there tried to challenge what the three-judge court ultimately said needed to be done. They called on Alabama to redraw the map several times to try to create what is referred to as an opportunity district. That didn't happen. The state lawmakers and state legislature, GOP-led state legislature, ultimately came out to say that that isn't what we're going to do. They came up with different maps that didn't really address the problem, and so ultimately what happened is that what's referred to as a special master has been assigned to come up with a plan to figure out what this map might potentially look like. Yesterday there were 3 proposed versions of this map, all of which have a black majority in this second proposed district. What ultimately will be decided will matter. It'll be a couple of weeks. We know that there is a very short window that the state has to work with. The Secretary of State has said that they want to get this done by the beginning of October so that they can be prepared for the 2024 election.
All right, so let's talk about the 2024 election, Skyler. What is next for the state?
Yeah. So, well, the state and, for that matter, the other side has an opportunity to push back on this. They have until October 3rd to challenge what we saw today. They kept it, the Supreme Court kept it relatively short, relatively brief, a one-sentence refusal that the state put out there saying that they want to try to extend this and try to push this back further, but the Supreme Court ultimately said no, the special master can continue to do its work. Why this matters, Vlad, is when you take into consideration what's going on in the House of Representatives, where there's that razor-thin majority for Republicans in the House. I believe there's about 4 or 5 seats that the Republicans have in terms of a majority. Every seat counts, and if there were to be a second Democrat in the House, that means that the Democrats would have one more, slowly but surely chipping away at that GOP lead. So, of course, Republicans want to push back on this as much as possible. We've heard from people down on the ground in Alabama that there is the likelihood and possibility that they could try this case again in front of the U.S. Supreme Court with hopes of trying to sway Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who sided with the court's liberal minority in this, along with Chief Justice John Roberts. If that were to happen, that could certainly be interesting, but it appears as if this is already set, if you will, to try to at least create this second opportunity district for Democrats in the state of Alabama.
Before we let you go, I want to ask you about the president today. He's heading to Michigan to support UAW workers. What can you tell us?
Well, that is certainly something, Emery, in that historic was what the White House is calling it. We have rarely ever seen a president stand with striking workers, let alone auto workers. We know that the president will be standing with them a little later on this afternoon as they strike against the big 3 automaking companies, Ford, GM, and Stellantis, which is the parent company of Chrysler. What he says, that'll be interesting to pay attention to. The White House has indicated that he doesn't plan on getting involved in any of the negotiations per se. There have been some White House officials who were waffling on whether they would be involved and sort of sit on the sidelines on these talks, but we know that the president will be there. We'll see if he stands with Sean Fain, who is the person in charge of UAW, and what they have to say. We should also point out that this happens to be a day ahead of when President Trump, or former President Trump, plans on doing the exact same thing, meeting with striking auto workers in Michigan as well. That's notable because Michigan is very much a swing state. Both of these two leading front runners of Democrats and Republicans heading into 2024 certainly want to make their voices heard and want to make sure that they have the support of the union workers there in Michigan as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the president has to say later on this afternoon.
We'll be watching. Skyler Henry, thank you.